Welcome to the Real Mama Pod.
I'm your host, Devin.
And I'm your host, Kendra.
We are real moms.
Sharing real experiences. The things people don't tell you. Hey, Mama, hey.
Hey, Mama, hey. How you doing, friend?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, today is a good day. So if this is your first time listening, I'm your host, Devin.
And I'm your host, Kendra.
Welcome to the Real Mama Pod.
Welcome.
And we in person.
Yes, at the SE Content House.
Yes, again. So,
yes, it's our new vibe. Y'all.
Yes, our new vibe. So get used to it. Okay, get used to it. We also have a beautiful guest, as you can see. We have Shanera here with us from the Brown Mama Bear podcast. Okay, Shanera is a mom of 3 grown kids, empty nester. They in college. They're successful. They're on the right track.
Yes.
She majored in journalism. She went to Howard.
Ain't you?
Okay,
She works in radio or journalism by trade.
Yeah.
But you've been living your life as an empty nester.
Her best life.
Talk about it.
And we're going to talk about all the things, okay? Because we want our kids to kind of be on this track as well, if they desire to be, of course. But we're going to try to guide them to our best of our abilities to, do it is what her kids are doing.
Right.
Yeah.
They're living their best life.
Best life.
Because they were raised by this beautiful woman and her husband.
Yeah, so welcome to the show,
Thank
Shanera.
you.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Welcome.
I love being in the pod.
Hey, yeah, this is the pod. What's up?
Yes. So, Shanera, briefly tell us about your journey to mamahood.
Well, I became a mother when I was pretty young.
Was pretty young.
27?
It's not that young.
Yeah. Well, I was probably young.
Yeah, she's like, I was still young. I'm still young, right?
Right.
And so my husband and I, we thought we were going to wait like 5 years.
Okay, that's
We were
fair.
married about 3 years when we had our first.
Mm-hmm.
But I had 3 kids in 5 years.
Oh, wow.
So it was like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And in the time, I thought, oh, this is good. They'll be friends.
Yeah.
They'll grow up together. I had this picture perfect. I had no idea what it was going to be on me, though.
Yeah.
It's. I think there are a couple years in there that are just foggy. Like, I'm not quite sure what happened. But
That's
I'm
fair.
there with you. I understand that.
That's fair.
I'm still, the fog is still here.
The fog is fogging.
Right. And it's not clear. It's still very dense fog. It's heavy fog.
yes.
But one day it'll lighten up.
It will.
I promise you it will.
I'm
like,
looking
that's
forward
what I'm
to
here for, to tell you that, like, I'll give you my hand. We're going to come out of the fog.
I appreciate that hand because I need it. So when Devin gave your introduction, she said that you're an empty nester.
Yes.
What is an empty nester and how does it feel?
Girl, let me just say, it is one of those concepts that doesn't mean a whole lot because they keep bouncing back in. So you launch them out, but then they'll boomerang back in for a second. And I love that. That's the part that absolutely I love because I want my girls to know that there's a safe place for you to land, for you to bounce if you need to. And then in this economy and what's going on, my oldest graduated from college during COVID. So she needed to bounce,
Right.
We needed to make sure we were absorbing some of that for her.
Yeah.
So,
and it's okay to go back home after college. Like,
yes.
I went back home for a little while and it felt good, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You got to be able to have that smooth transition out into the world. And it's good that you offered that space for your girls to come back home if they need to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you miss them, I'm sure.
But empty nesting looks like your heart is not even in your house anymore. Because we love our girls so much and we hold them here. And while we're coaching them from a distance, we're still going, dang, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So my oldest one, we just helped her. She was negotiating her first big girl job contract. And so as we were doing all of that, we were like, we're still in it.
Right.
Of course.
Parenting doesn't end. She just doesn't live in our house anymore.
Yeah.
So.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. So tell us a little bit about your podcast. I absolutely love it. I love your message. I love the education behind it. So tell us a little bit about it, how you got started, what it means, all of that. Give us all the tea.
Well, when my youngest daughter graduated from high school, I realized, I just figured something out. And I'm like, what in the world? How do you figure something out and they're all gone?
Right.
And then I thought, it's because I'm supposed to turn around and help other mamas.
Right.
Like you guys. You're in the thick of it and you need to know the things that I learned.
Okay.
So we had a couple of hard bumps in there. I raised my children in a predominantly white community because of where we moved for the schools.
Okay.
So we wanted these great public schools. My husband's job took us to Nashville.
Okay.
So we're outside of Nashville where everyone tells us good schools are.
Right.
And I did all my homework. I was like, okay, I'm looking for schools that have great test scores.
Right.
I want a low student to teacher ratio.
Okay.
I want high parental involvement. Like these are all the things. My parents were both teachers, so I knew what I was looking for.
Yeah.
What I wasn't expecting was the racial harm that could happen, especially in this particular community. It is the last battle of the Civil War is in Franklin, Tennessee. And there's still this honor of the Confederacy that lives. And so we're battling against people having that high regard for the Confederacy as just Southern culture and not understanding the academic behind it.
Right.
That absolutely this is not just Southern culture. And that's not what all Southern culture is about.
Exactly.
So we are the New South, raising our children up in this place.
You're from Maryland.
I'm from Maryland.
Oh, yeah,
I wasn't prepared for
this.
It's that's a cultural shock.
And where's your husband from?
He's from Detroit.
Oh,
okay, so it's I'm sure that was a huge culture shock.
We weren't ready. But, there have been Black people who lived in that community since enslavement. So there are families that have traced their roots there and they had to deal with it right after Reconstruction. So I'm like, okay, if they survived that, we can survive this. So I survived it, but then I have these lessons that I want to make sure parents are teaching their kids so that their racial identity does not get compromised as we're giving them good schools.
Right.
Yeah. We have this conversation all the time because our kids' education is very important to us, but there's sacrifice, obviously. The better schools are unfortunately in spaces that are not predominantly occupied by people who look like us. So it's a matter of, do I sacrifice or potentially sacrifice my son's identity because I want him to have a top tier education, or do we continue to do the work that we've been doing at home, but put him in spaces where we know he will feel comfortable because there are people that look like him, whether they're a teacher or a peer or the custodian or people in the school district. Like it's a challenge.
It's so much,
and it's hard to
think
navigate.
About. Yes.
Yeah.
And so I really feel like I want to help parents no matter what their choice is, right? So if you decide that you want to go into a space where there are more people who look like us, that's fine. There's still some things that even in those spaces we need to make sure our children get. I want to make sure that they understand the lessons from history that have guided us through. So that happens no matter where they are.
Right.
And then also, if they're in predominantly white spaces, I want to make sure that we're doing all the things that we can to shore them up. So I just don't think it's one or the other.
Right.
It's not either or, it's both and. We're going to get everything we can from this school and we're going to get everything we can about our identity because we need them to have all of it. And I want them to get everything. And I stand in the middle of two different generations. My parents grew up in the segregated South. They were not, by law, not allowed to have an equal education to white people.
Wow.
They are still alive.
Yeah.
They are not that, that old either.
Right.
So those are the people who raised me. Then my children live in this New South and they're here where they allegedly have all of these opportunities. But we need to make sure we're connecting them to the generation before so that they learn the lessons from that. And at the same time, while we are this older generation's wildest dream, we need to make sure that they have what they need too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Our kids get put in these spaces and sometimes they can get off kilter. Yeah. Because it's like, we're like, yes, go do it. But we don't realize what's happening to them in that space.
Yeah.
Between teachers and their peers, there's all kinds of things that are just chipping away at their sense of self.
Yeah.
So why am I telling them to go higher than the next generation? Put you on my shoulders and not giving them an anchor.
Exactly.
Ooh, that was good.
Oh, it's a hard world. My husband and I both went to an HBCU, and then part of our graduate studies was at a PWI.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a huge culture shock because we were used to life a certain way at our Black college. And then we're put into this space that we're like, what the hell is going on? We're not used to this. Mm-hmm. And it's hard. And I'm like, I want my kid to be comfortable wherever he goes. And it's just a matter of us setting that foundation now so that he knows how to navigate whatever space he's in.
Right.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Continue to do the work you're doing.
I feel like my time at Howard University set me up for this.
Right.
Oh, yes.
There was a teacher I had my freshman year who her father was Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth.
Oh,
he was a part of the civil rights movement.
Wow.
She's Dr. Carolyn Shuttlesworth. And she did more to just put in us a sense of this is what has happened before. Mm-hmm. Therefore, when you're given every opportunity, walk through the door with your head high, but understand that you're connected to a people who have done a great work. Wow. And so because of that, as I'm raising my kids and we're putting them in these spaces, there were a lot of times things would happen and I would be in the room at a field trip or wherever, and I would experience what they're experiencing in real time. Mm-hmm. I was hearkening back to my days at Howard, like, oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we are not.
Right.
And so the miseducation that was happening of my children, I was prepared to come up against it because I went to Howard.
Shout out to the HBCU.
Yeah. Shout out to the HBCU. I know, fam, you prepared you.
There's nothing we can't do. Exactly. It did. Yeah. So we figured it out like, this ain't familiar ground, but we know how to work it.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So going back to being an empty nester as well, like, have your priorities changed at all? Like, what does your priorities even look like now? Because I know, like, the first 18 years of life, right? Mm-hmm. We're so, like, focused on our kids and their goals and their aspirations. And then you go to having all of that and managing their schedules to just having your schedule to kind of worry about. So
Okay. Shout out to my husband.
Okay.
I am married to an amazing man.
Oh.
Been married to him for 29 years.
Wow.
And this man has the ability to, in every season of our life, shift in ways that just shock me. And so he's just pliable. Like I say, you can parachute him anywhere and he'll like figure it out.
Yeah.
So I feel like he made the shift easier than I did.
Okay.
But that first Saturday that we didn't have a volleyball game or a dance competition, we were like, we have so much time. What just happened? There's more than 24 hours in a day. So I think the biggest thing is that when we didn't have all of our kids' activities, we got to decide what do we want to do with ourselves.
Okay.
And so my husband started a new business.
Okay.
And so he just decided, like, I'm switching careers. This is what I'm going to do.
Right.
And I did the same. And so when I started the podcast, I was like, you know what? I want to go for this. Yeah. And I want to do some things that I have maybe put on the back burner. So it's just been fun that we can decide what we want to do for ourselves. Yeah. Sometimes we don't even eat a full meal for dinner. We just decide, you know what? Let's just get a little of this, a little of that. And it just feels good.
Yeah.
Like even cleaning up the kitchen is easier because it's only 2 people, you know? And so
we'll worry about yourself.
Get the kitchen done in like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like what just happened?
Like, so we have a lot more time. What do we do next?
It's a lot of fun.
I love my baby and I'm happy that I have him. And one day I look forward to the empty nesting because we'll get to just be husband and wife. And of course, we'll still subconsciously worry about our kid. But
you worry about
physically.
Them. We talk about them way too much. Of
course.
And I would also say we are enjoying traveling more.
Oh, that's a good one.
And not like we've been a whole lot of places, but when we go somewhere, we just enjoy it more because we're like, we can just throw something in a bag.
And go. You're not packing an extra pair of clothes, pull-ups just in case.
Exactly.
You know? Even as they're older, as teenagers, thinking about, okay, but then we're also going to do this and that.
Right.
And, you know.
Just to accommodate what, you know.
Yeah. Keep them entertained as teenagers because they get bored so easily.
They do.
Like, this is boring.
Ungrateful at that age.
I mean, we were that age at one point.
Definitely.
And I definitely did appreciate some of the experiences.
I was a horrible teenager.
Yeah, so was I. My mouth was off the chain.
Yes.
Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Mom.
I remember when I was a teen and my dad was in the army. We lived in Germany. And my mom and dad were like, "Oh, we're gonna go to Amsterdam this weekend." I'm like, I don't want to go to Amsterdam. But I'm like, wow. Now that I'm 30-something, I'm like, you ungrateful little girl. Like, you had the opportunity. I mean, you win, and you didn't appreciate that experience. So, as a teenager, it's like you're very ungrateful. At least I was. Yeah. But I've grown out of that. Yeah. And I thank you, Mommy and Daddy, for taking us to Amsterdam, even when I didn't appreciate it. But anyway, so we've talked about your girls. They've gone to college. They're in college. How did you know they were like ready for college? Like, what made you feel, you and your husband, what made y'all feel like they were ready?
Well, okay, so we moved to this area in Franklin, Tennessee for the schools. Okay. So we did these public schools. Around middle school, there was just stuff happening, racially insensitive things in the school district we were in that made me look for an independent school. Okay. So I sent them to this school that was more college preparatory. So from 6th grade on, we're talking about college. Okay. Wow. So in our home, and I'm not saying this is right, in our home, we were just assuming. That is what you will do. Right. So this is where you're going. Okay, this is your path. That is your path. Looking back on that, I would do it differently. Okay. So my encouragement to you and to you is to not set that out in front of them. Right. We're in a different era, and you've got to know your child. Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't know that some children will thrive without going to college. I was like, you're Black in America. You need to be educated. And that is what we're doing. Right. That's the end. And one of my daughters, jumped through all the hoops, did everything we asked her to do. And after her first year said, this is not for me. I really could have saved our relationship. I could have saved her frustration by just leaning in a little more and listening, but it wasn't even an option. Yeah. So I just think keep those options open. When your children are teenagers, you're exploring who they are, not who you want them to be.
Yes, that's confirmation. Jared is my husband. We talk all the time about that. Like, we're paying into college, we're doing all the things, but also we're making sure that the things that we're using to pay for college, if the kids don't want to go to college, they can opt out and invest that money if they want to. Yes. We're getting them into real estate very early. Very good. So they have options. And for me, even in today's world, like with technology, Google School, certificates, all kind of stuff, if they go to college, it would be more for like networking purposes, unless they want to be a doctor or engineer, something very specified. Yes. Yes, go to school. But if it's for something else, like maybe just go for networking, because I found too, it's not about what you know, but who you know. Yes, that piece of paper gets you through the door, but can you sustain? Do you have the personality? Can you work with your coworkers? Or are you an entrepreneur? Like, because my husband and I, we're finding out now in our 30s, after spending so much time in school and so much money, that truly our dream is to be entrepreneurs. And we didn't realize till later, because like you, his dad, FAMU, that's it. All the siblings went to FAMU. That's it. From either you joined the military or you going down to FAMU. Yeah. Okay? Or both. Yes. Or both. Because his brother did do both. And it wasn't an option, right? And all their kids are very successful. Like, their parents did an amazing job. All the kids are just phenomenal people, right? But now I see my husband tussling, like he's into woodworking and he can build furniture. He can make all kind of things, right, with his hands. And he studied architecture. Yes. But he got that naturally almost. And I see my boys wanting to be in the wood shop and do those type of things. Or when we get an Airbnb booking, they're excited. So it's just like, I don't know what they're going to be. Are they going to be down at the FAMU? Or are they going to just be out here living their own dreams? So I'm glad you said that, because that's confirmations, because you really just don't know. Yes. And for me, I'm a first generation high school graduate and college graduate. Wow. So my mom really pushed, like, you are going to do this. Like, you are the... So I had that pressure, right? Yeah. And then for some reason, she didn't do that with my sisters. Do whatever you want to do. I have a sister that's 25 that's still just figuring out life, like how to breathe. And I'm just like, girl, get it together, because I'm tired of sending you cash apps. Okay, I love you, sis. But because she do watch, I'm sorry. I love you. I love you.
She gonna get you.
She gonna get me. She gonna get you. But it's just like, I guess, knowing your child, right? My mom knew my baby sister just was not ready.
Yes.
And so I think she saw something in me that I'm any different from my siblings. She just knew I can kind of take that on, you know?
Yeah.
And I always just had big dreams and goals as a little girl. Like, I can always remember dreaming of being a pediatrician. Now, I did not become one because I could not get through organic chemistry. Okay?
That's the one.
And so that was just like, you know what? I'm done here. I could just be a psychologist and call it a day. I'll still work with kids. Just knowing as a little girl, like I was going to be something not in my environment. I didn't necessarily grow up in the best environment growing up, especially in New York City in the 90s. In Harlem is totally different what it is today.
Oh, yeah.
But just dreaming big and dreaming outside of those walls and all the things that I've seen. So now hearing you say that, it's just like confirmation. Yes. So thank you for that. Because we don't know. Yeah. We don't know what we don't know.
And that's what I feel like my purpose in life is right now. As an empty nester is to say, I've gone down this road a couple of years ahead of you. Let me just tell you, there's a pothole up ahead. Swerve. Right. You know,
being honest.
I forced my child into this.
Yeah.
Don't do that to your babies. Don't do that to them.
Yeah.
And we, like, it's just a FAMU thing. We always say, oh, you're going to FAMU. But it's like, he may make the decision to not want to go to college or even go to FAMU. And I have to be okay with that because that's his choice.
Yes.
So I'm still processing because I think about our experience at FAMU.
Yeah.
Like, I want this for my baby. Right. I want him to feel how we felt leaving this college and walking into the world so confidently and so boldly.
And having relationships everywhere you go.
Everywhere you go. You go.
No matter where you go.
Yeah. So I'm like, I want this for my baby, but he has to make that choice for him. I can't make it for him.
And you know, we're raising our children for a generation we won't live in. Yeah. We are raising them for a generation that we're not living in it in the same way they are. So we got to figure out what tools do we need to give them so that they're ready for what they have to do, not for what we have to do. So him going to FAMU 30 years after you, it's going to look differently.
Oh, because the dorm's already gone.
Right? Our dorms are kaput.
Yes. And so I have a Howard student there now, my baby Bison. Yeah. She's my youngest one. She's there now. She has a totally different experience than I did. Yeah. And, you know, I had to realize, even if I want my children to go there, it's a different time, it's a different era, and they are not me. Okay. So they would have a different experience there. It's not going to be the same one. Yeah. So Howard, amazing place. Yeah. Absolutely. I had two that didn't go there. My kids, my older two went to other places. And I think that was the right choice for them.
Yeah. That was good.
So
that was really good. Yes, indeed. So you're a podcaster.
Yes.
How do your daughters feel about that? Do they tune in? Do they critique you? Are they
podcast listeners?
They are not, but they are probably my biggest cheerleaders. Oh, they really are.
Yeah, because I see you doing the little dances, the TikTok dances and stuff with them. They're good sport.
Okay, so my middle daughter is a professional dancer and choreographer.
Okay. Makes sense.
And so when she's around, you just have to dance. Like, but that's kind of how we raise them. Like, you know, move the rug back. Let's throw on some music. Okay. So I've heard a lot of people that are in my age, over 50. I love being 53. I'm 53.
Yes, you look good, Mama. Yes.
Thank you. I've heard a lot of people my age say, don't just do TikTok videos and dance and do what other people are doing on social media. And I'm like, but I'm being me.
Right.
And that's what we would do if TikTok didn't exist. Right. We would be dancing together. So I dance with her. I love it. My oldest daughter is a teacher. She teaches history and English at a high school.
That's fitting. Considering you.
Yes. And she is phenomenal. So she's been on the podcast before. Okay. We were talking about the role of teachers and how that plays into the development of a child. Okay. And so she was talking about what that felt like for her as a brand new teacher. So it was really good because I don't want to bash teachers. Yeah. But I do want any white allies listening to know that there is some bias they need to check at the door when they come into a classroom. And so having that conversation with my daughter was good. She was saying she wished teachers would have done that for her. So for her, when she was talking about the transatlantic slave trade, she had to do some work at home to just get herself ready for it. And she's like, it's from a different point of view. The white teachers needed to have done some work before they came in. They didn't deal with their guilt wherever they felt. But she had to deal with her grief and this connection to our ancestors that has been erased or minimized. Yeah. And then what that feels like, we carry that trauma in our DNA. She was like, I had to deal with that before I come in to teach. Right. And so it was just a great podcast episode. Yeah. So that's that. And then my youngest one is still at Howard. She's a senior this year. And she gave me one of my podcast guests.
The young man, he was really good, very well spoken. Yes.
And so she was just like, hey, this is somebody who I think would be a great person for you to know. And so they're amazing.
In contact with people.
Yes. Yeah.
Baby bison.
Baby bison.
So our last question is around just kind of closing out how you made sure your girls felt safe when they were occupying or in these spaces that really didn't have a lot of people that looked like them, especially at the schools. And you talked about kind of having to switch schools at some point. Like, how did you ensure that they felt safe in their skin and their mind and who they are as young Black girls?
And I have something to add to that scene as well, especially in that environment. Like, how do you feel safe, seen, and heard? Because that is a lot for our children, especially in those spaces and environments. So I just wanted to add to Ken's question.
Yeah, that's a good addition.
I think it's a great question. I believe all children deserve to be seen, celebrated, and given all the tools they need to succeed.
Yeah.
That is the whole reason that I'm even doing what I do. Right. I believe all children deserve that. Our children don't get that as easily. And so what I realized is that for me, as I was on that gerbil wheel myself, trying to make sure they did all the things in gymnastics and and you're doing this and you're doing that, that I wasn't always centering them feeling seen and safe. And so it had to start at home.
Gotcha.
If I had it to do again, we would do fewer activities.
Like recreational activities?
We would do fewer of them. The best thing that we did was had a dinner table that was a non-negotiable. Okay. We were talking around our dinner table.
Okay.
There were times when we didn't even know what we were doing. Yeah. But when you just spend time with your child, not doing things for them, not buying them something, not giving them an experience, just you're with them, more happens than you realize.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing that I think helped. The times when my children felt the most unstable was when I wasn't attentive to them, when I wasn't with them, when I was over here worrying about something or whatever. And so just being with them. One of my daughters had a teacher that the back to school night, I got a sixth sense about her that I was just like, something's off. So I signed up to be the parent who would be the room mom.
Okay, room moms.
I was like, whew, this is going to be a lot of work. Yeah. It meant moving my schedule. It meant doing... But every week I would sit in that classroom and do whatever the teacher wanted. So sometimes it meant reading to the kids. Sometimes it meant cutting out circles. This was like first grade. And I was doing but I had my eye on her.
Right. Like, this is really why I'm here.
I didn't feel right. Yeah. I got to observe things in that classroom that my child could have never told me about because it was subtle. It's very subtle. And I found out later that those things stayed with my daughter. She was in about the 6th grade when she said, do you think Miss So-and-so was a... Yes, she was. She was a racist. And the thing is, there wasn't ever anything that was... No one called her the N-word. Right. No one... It was nothing that was... I could go to the administration and say, this happened. Yeah. It was because I was observing it and I knew she would subtly leave my child out.
Yeah.
She would do things with other white kids and then be like, oh, Nia. And I watched it. And so that's how I could be. So just being with your children, and you can't be with all your kids in all the classes. But when you feel something's not right, lean into that. Yeah. Pay more attention to that. But when I would go with them to a field trip, I knew what was being said to them. We live in Tennessee. We had to go to plantations a lot. Plantation.
They took the kids on field trips to plantations?
Oh, I've been to several. Because you're not taking my child to a plantation without me.
Right.
Oh, we're not going.
Right.
I wanted to understand what in the curriculum justifies this?
A plantation
why,
visit.
Yeah, why were... I'm curious.
The answer is nothing.
Gotcha.
Okay. It was not justified, but I was with my kids.
Yeah.
So I could make sure they got seen.
Right.
Even when others didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Yes. So, I had, how does it, we good? Okay. When you were telling that story, I just thought of a memory or an experience that I had in a classroom. And this was in Missouri. This is when we were stationed in rural Missouri. I was in the 5th grade and I had a teacher. She was a white lady and very interesting woman. There was a situation in the classroom where I was sitting next to a kid, 5th grade, kids are playing around, and this little boy just kept bothering me. And then I'm telling him, leave me alone, like, don't. And I'm the one that I get in trouble.
Yeah.
And my desk gets moved to the back of the classroom, like facing the wall. So when I went home, I told my mom, I said, Mom, her name was Miss Glasscock. Miss Glasscock. Yeah, I mean, this is Minnie. I don't know where Miss Glasscock is in life right now.
If you're listening.
Well, hey, Miss Glasscock.
You did this, girl.
But she faced me to the wall. And I told my mom, I said, Mom, this happened at school today. And she was livid.
Yeah.
So my grandmother was a teacher. She called my grandma. She told my grandma what happened. And before I knew it, people were calling the school. And it was a whole conference. It was a whole situation. And it's like, there are people who don't play about our Black kids. And I'm glad that you put yourself in position to see what was going on and address it, because this happens a lot. It's subtle racism.
Yes.
And I'm glad that you put yourself in position to see it, address it, and teach your kid how to deal with it. And I'm glad that my mom and my dad and my grandma and the whole community spoke up and was like, no, this is not happening.
Because this is the problem with it. It's not just that she put you in front of this wall. It's that she was giving you these messages that your voice didn't matter. She was giving you the message that you can be the one that gets penalized for something that you didn't do.
Right.
And that then tears down your sense of self when you should be learning.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And in an academic environment, when you tear somebody down, it prohibits them from learning everything they need to learn. And so Brown Mama Bears came up for you.
Yeah, it was a whole, what do they call the pack, whatever. It was a pack of, it was a whole, and my grandma, she did not play about us. Yes. She did not play. So I'm thankful that I had this army of Black mama bears that came in and said, not today, not this one, not this one.
And that's what we do as mama bears. If you ever see a mama bear in the wild or on any of those National Geographic shows or whatever, they're attentive to their child, but they're also looking around.
Yeah.
So that's what we need to do. We need to attend to our So at home, make sure they're seen.
Yeah.
Tell them not just that they're beautiful. They need to know that. But tell them the things about them, that their character that's good. You are curious. You're really good at working with your hands. Tell them those things. So you're doing this, but then you're doing this. And you're watching out for any prey that may be coming and wanting to do something to your child.
That's good.
Now that I have a child, I feel like I'm do not.
I know where that mama bear
right.
is.
Yes, it make a lot of sense.
Yeah, because I'm reserved when it comes to a lot of things. With my kids, it's I risk it all.
Yes.
And I do not care.
Yes.
So,
and I do think there's some strategic things that you need to think about with them. I didn't go in for everything.
Yeah.
I didn't go to the school for every time something, because I would have been there all the
time.
Yeah. So we were just strategic. Okay, this one is worth going in for. This one, we're going to deal with it at home.
Right.
So this is what happened. They were talking about being on our plantation, and it was fun, and the slaves were happy.
Whoa.
That was wrong. Like those are things. And so I didn't go into the school for all of that one, because there were things I was doing at home. To say, first of all, we're dismantling all the things y'all just heard on the car ride.
Right. Yeah.
Because that was wrong. And then we're going to go go and do some more work when we get home.
Yeah.
To tell you what truth is. But then when there were times when things that were just clearly racist, clearly, like, there is nothing that you can say about this one. We all can see this is wrong.
Yeah.
And I have to go in and talk to them. I always had to, it felt like jumping double dutch. Like, you gotta...
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the...
where
did it go up? Oh, yeah.
Because when I jump, when I get in here,
it's on. I'm
on.
ready.
But and I hate that we have to have all of that mental energy go into it. But for the sake of our children, we have to be prepared for that and be very strategic for the times you go in.
Yeah.
And strategic about the times when you don't, but you're constantly pouring into your kids.
Love that. Indeed. That was really good, Shanera. You definitely blessed the pod. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
For your presence.
Yes.
Thank you so
much.
much.
And for what you're doing to educate us on how to navigate this world.
Girl, can we get some mama juice?
Yes. That is exactly what.
Come on.
So our Mama Juice today is sponsored by Poised Wine.
Yes.
And y'all know when we have a guest, we always ask them, what do you like to drink? And Shanera's like, I'm a wine drinker. And we're like, perfect, because we have a featured Black-owned wine here.
I love it.
And we're drinking a sparkling rosé.
It's delicious.
And it's really good.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers to Brown Mama Bear. We're calling this our Brown Mama Bear drink.
Yeah.
Our Brown Mama Bear.
I love it. Brown Mama Bear's in the pot.
Yes, indeed.
So if this is your first time listening, our next segment is Mama's Corner. And this is my favorite segment because we are able to connect with our guests further, our listeners write in, or we can reflect on a conversation. And I feel like this was a good episode to be reflective. And so I have an additional question for you.
Okay.
So you have 3 girls.
Yes.
Okay? 3 beautiful girls. And they're adults now. But when they were teenagers, how did you prepare them for the real world? What did the sex talk look like for you? Did you have the sex talk? Was it like, okay, you just going to have to figure this out on your own, or I'm actually going to talk to you about what that looks like, down to puberty, things like that. For me, and I asked this because my mom had 5 girls, 5 girls, 1 boy. And she scared the hell out of us. She just said, if you look at a boy, you're going to get AIDS. And that was like the talk. And
that's extreme.
Right. And I was so terrified. So I was just like, oh my God. She's like, the cute ones really got it. And I was just like,
the cute ones really got it.
Yes. So I grew up thinking that. So I was like very afraid of like looking at boys because she trauma. And I mean, I understand why she did it.
Because back then, that's how they told us.
Watch the videos. You know what
I mean,
it's 5 girls. We got to get you at least through adulthood.
Yes.
She was a young mom at one point too. So I get what she was trying to do. It was a lot of us, one of her, but God dang, that was not right.
No.
So I mean, later on in high school, she did like, well, if you are thinking about it, you can talk to me about it later on. But like that initial birds and bees talk was not.
It wasn't birds or bees.
No, it was just AIDS.
It was just AIDS.
Yeah.
So, so I was just curious.
I feel like if I had it to do again, I would be more robust in what I said to them. So for my mom, she said, keep your dress down and your panties up. Like that was all I had. That was all I had. So I was like, if I do more than that. Sorry, Mom. If I did more than that, then we'd be good. So I felt like I didn't want it to be a talk. I didn't want to ever have, I don't want them to have one day that they remember us talking about it. I wanted it to just be a conversation. So it probably started around the time when they were dressing themselves, of just telling them these are private parts that no one else should see, touch, and be, and have access to until you give them the okay. So that was the first time that I was intentional in my mind of like, this is our start. Yeah. They didn't know that. And to them, it was, when I think it was about 5th grade in school, they did it. And I took them out and had ice cream that day. Wish I would have done that on the plantation day as well.
Yeah,
but anyway, when we did the field trip to the plantation, wish I would have done that too. But I took them out for ice cream because I didn't want people who didn't love them talking to them about sex and their bodies and puberty and whatever. So I had this book that helped me. I can't remember the name of it right now. I think it was called Period. So because we wanted to talk about this is what your body is doing and then these are the things you're going to need.
Right.
But I also, like, I wasn't really good at, they were very sportsy girls.
Yeah.
So they wanted to use tampons, and I just wasn't good at showing them how to do that.
Yeah.
So, there's things that I wish I would have done better. I wish I would have done a better job at that. But, so for me, it's not a talk. It is a continuous conversation, and it's being with your kids. Yeah.
And I don't know if they're sexually active or not, but did they tell you if they were? Like, did they come to you? And because I still hid it from my mom. She knew by my attitude
I don't think I've ever told my mom that I've had sex.
I knew when you was doing it because you just came up in here thinking you was grown. So,
I feel like I will respectfully not answer that just because
that's
now.
fair.
Of course.
And because of my kids
of course.
who they are.
Yeah. That's fair. Okay. Well, this was great. So if anybody wants to connect with you further, want to get in contact with you, how can they find you?
I would love it. You can go to brownmamabear.com. That's my website, and you can learn everything about it. But please go to Instagram, Brown Mama Bear Podcast. I would love for people to follow me there.
Yes.
And then Apple Podcasts, Spotify.
Yeah.
Just listen. Every week I drop an episode every Tuesday. I've been doing it for 1.5 years now, and I haven't missed. So
there we go.
Awesome.
High five.
Yeah.
There we
It's
go.
not easy. It's not easy. How about you guys? You guys are doing a great job.
Oh, thank you.
I don't think at this stage in my parenting, I could do what you guys are doing. I'm like at the end going, whew. You were in the middle of it and talking about it. So thank you.
Thank you. We have very
you so
supportive
much.
husbands as well. So we try to tip our hats off to them every chance we get because they be fussing
Some
at us.
good black men.
Yes.
We got
supportive
to
husbands.
We
and
do.
allow us.
We have some.
And the kids are on board too. They're like, you got the mama pod today?
Yeah.
So
They do. They know about the mama pod.
They do.
They know.
But
we've had to stop them from singing the thing.
our theme
okay.
song, but But it's okay. It's okay. But thank you so much. We really enjoyed you. And we can't wait to do this again.
Thank you so much. I love being here.
Thank you.
Until next time, mamas.
Bye.